Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Retirement Readiness Podcast. As always, we have Tim Reagan, the founder at Prairie View Wealth Partners.
Hey, Katie.
And I'm Katie Umland, the head of marketing here. So today we're going to be talking about planning for retirement, tips and strategies for saving and investing for the future. So when I read that this was our topic for today, I thought, isn't that what we always talk about?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, now for a 4.5 hour long. Yeah.
So just a little bit different, I guess.
Well, and really,
a little bit more specific.
Part of the thought I think today, Katie, is really around we can talk about strategies like how do I take money out in retirement, or what should I do to get ready for retirement, that kind of stuff. I think if we rewind the clock a little bit, there's some things that we can talk about, like what are some good blocking and tackling things that I can do so that I can get ready for retirement, whether I'm 65 and ready to retire in a few years, or I'm 25 and I'm just kind of getting started in life. I think there's some things that we can talk through and help people with.
Awesome. So the first thing that we had kind of on our list of things to talk about was how much should I be saving into my retirement plan? So I feel like that's always what
everybody has that question,
yes.
Right? Yeah. And do you know the answer?
I think the answer is more than you think.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. But except for some, it's less than they think, because they're like, oh my gosh, I'll never do it. And they're
90% of my paycheck.
Yeah.
So my real answer is if you have a company match, you should be maxing that.
Yep.
That should be like first.
100%.
And I think you should be saving for retirement. You should be putting that away before you start your other savings plans.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. So, yes and no. A big thing that we try to say is you want to try to balance how much can I save for retirement, but what other goals do I have? Because every bit of money you put into your 401k, that's money you can't use to buy a house. It's money you can't use to send the kids to college. It's like, and so it's really kind of, there's this tension between how do I prepare myself for retirement, but yet also have enough money that I can do some of the other things I want to in life as well. So what our suggestion is that we kind of look at it by decades. If you can get to 8 to 10% of your retirement or of your income going into your retirement savings when you're in your 20s, you'll be able to maintain that, and you're going to be in really good shape. If you haven't been able to do that through your 20s, then by the time you get into your 30s, you need to bump that to like 12%.
Yeah, and that's a lot harder.
It's a lot harder to do that.
Kids might be in the picture now. You're buying a bigger house now, potentially.
Yeah, for sure. And so what we try to tell people is your first answer is absolutely correct. If you're not getting the company match, you're missing the boat. You got to make sure. And it's funny because so many people say, well, I only think I'm going to be at this job for maybe a year or so I'm not going to do it. No.
I made that mistake. Not my first, it was kind of my second job. I didn't understand it fully.
Well, yeah, because your first job was working here in the office for Dad and I.
And I knew what that was.
And we were not giving you a 401k. That's
not when
I
was 16.
No,
no, this was actually, it was after college, but it was this weird time. I'm getting off topic, but it was a weird time. Dad had just passed away, and everything in my life was just kind of jumbled. I didn't know where, I didn't want to spend the time to figure out what does this look like. So I probably didn't even ask you. It was just, okay, sure, here, whatever you tell me to do. But I didn't understand that I wasn't fully vested, and I was saving as much as I should, but I didn't understand like the company match part. Yep. And I should have taken more time to understand that fully.
For sure. Yeah. And so that's always number one, right? Make sure you're at least getting all of the company match. And because even if you leave that employer, you get all of your money back no matter when you leave. You're never going to be out the money you put in. And the only thing that you can do is get some of their free money in that match. So even if you're going to be there, say, a year, you might not get all the money that they put into it, but you're getting all of your money.
Yeah. And I think that was what I was confused about. And it made me feel nervous, like, oh, well, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I don't want to lose.
Exactly.
And it just wasn't. It was my fault for not looking into it more, but I could understand that that's confusing.
It is. And so the answer for how much should I be saving, it's absolutely that much. But then kind of to the point we had a little bit earlier, for you and Alex, you've got other goals than just want to retire, right? Mm-hmm. For me, I've got kids that I'm sending to school.
Vacation.
Sarah and I would like to take vacations. We'd like to potentially have a lake house or vacation home somewhere sometime. So those are all things that if I'm only saving into my retirement account, I can't take that money out because I have to be 59 and a half without paying a penalty. And
something else I think about with that is obviously you don't want to plan for this, but what I think about, Dad saved his whole life for his retirement. He died before he retired.
Yeah.
And so it's like, luckily he had been living his life and not just putting everything to retirement.
No,
but
for sure.
If that is what you were doing and you weren't enjoying your life now or going on vacations because you were putting it all to retirement, and then it's like,
yeah.
Or you get sick when you're older and you can't travel,
You can't do it.
or you can't do the things you thought you were saving for.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it's the tension of finding
the right
balance.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times what we'll see is we'll have a lot of people that are 401k broke. And what I mean by that is they're putting so much of their money into that retirement account, but they don't have an emergencies fund. And so you look and they've got this really nice balance in their retirement account. But if the hot water heater goes out or the furnace goes out, where's that money going to come from to do that? Or like you were talking about, if you wanted to buy a bigger house because you're having kids, where's that money going to come from? And so really we have to go in stages. We have to say the first step is we have to be saving money into an emergency fund that if something happens, we have access to those dollars. Then we can say, let's start putting dollars into a retirement account. And then we, look at the more longer term kids' college funds and, that kind of stuff.
So what type of investments should I have when I'm saving for retirement?
So it's funny when you think about that, a lot of times people will feel like that's one of the most important things. Like, how's my mix? Am I doing the right thing? When really what the most important thing is time in the market. So there's an old saying, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market that makes you money. And so what we encourage people to do is when you're talking about your retirement account and you're talking about long-term money, be as aggressive as you're comfortable being. And like right now, we're recording this in 2023, at the beginning part of 2023, and we're seeing market volatility for the last 18 months that's been kind of crazy, and we've seen the market down. And so a lot of times what we encourage people to do is to say, make sure that when you're putting your money in, make sure it's going into the aggressive part of the portfolio, because now you're buying when the market's down, you're buying it cheap, relatively cheap as the market's going down. If the other money you want to be more conservative, that's fine, but at least be dollar cost averaging and buying when the market's down. And so have those contributions going into those aggressive parts of the portfolio.
So always having, like you said, it's time in, not
time in.
Yeah. So I get what I take from that is meaning if, start when you're young.
Absolutely, 100,000%.
So what if you're listening to this and you're 45?
Oh, you're done. Too late. Sorry. Being 45, I can say that. And being 45, just if you're listening to this and that's whole jar, you also can't see as well. And you're like, we all know I like to eat sandwiches. And if you think about eating that sandwich, you gained 5 pounds. Yeah. I mean, it's like
and heartburn.
Yeah. That's right. So, I think this is an investing conversation. Sorry.
But that can be scary or sad to hear when you're 45, 55, and maybe you started, but you weren't as aggressive as you should have been when you were younger. Like, truly, what is your advice to those people?
So I think there's a handful of things that go through my mind. The first one is you're sitting here, let's say you're 45 and you're saying shoulda, coulda, woulda. Don't be at 50 doing the same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
Start now. There's no better time than right now to do it. I was just talking to our mom this morning. We were talking about working out, and I was telling her how I don't really like to do it. I always have to push myself, all that kind of stuff. But I have a little mantra that I tell myself: it's never going to be easier than it is today.
Yeah.
And so the longer I wait, the harder it's going to get. And same thing with saving for retirement or anything. It's never going to be easier than it is today. So just get started. The other thing that I like to think about there is the way that work is today. Everybody kind of has this picture of, boy, I get to some final moment and I don't have to do anything. I put my feet up on the beach and life is good. Mm-hmm. Not really what it looks like today. And so there's a lot of things that you can do that maybe retirement isn't 65 and I stop working altogether. So even though I'm 45, maybe I work to 70, but from 65 to 70, it's part-time consulting. It's things that I like to do. So, I mean, there are lots of things that we can talk about with how do we maybe close that gap. But number one, take advantage of it. Start saving as soon as you possibly can.
Well, Alex and I are lucky that we did have like you and Dad in our lives when we were younger. Alex, I feel like is, he kind of already had his own.
Oh, he's money-minded. He makes good decisions.
Set, yep. Before we even got together. But so we were lucky that we were young and we both kind of got set up good. And we both had the same thought of like, okay, in our 20s, before we have kids, that kind of meant a couple things to us. We're going to live. We like to go out or, go to dinner or whatever, but we had a condo rather than buying a house. Do you have your retirement ready?
That's my disability that I'm concerned about.
It's that sandwich. But we started thinking a little bit differently, like, okay, in our 20s, that's for saving while we still can. And before kids come, before bigger houses come, that's also time for me to put my head down and to work full time before kids come, and potentially I'm working part-time or staying home. And it's the same thing with retirement. Like, okay, well, let's put more into our retirement now before those expenses come up. And,
absolutely. And
just kind of shifting it a little bit, knowing like, okay, kind of 20s are late 20s, maybe not early 20s, late 20s are head down. Like, let's get the foundation built. And so that looks a little bit differently than when you are in your 30s and then you have a little bit more.
Well, and the other thing that we even say is, what makes it easier to save through your working years, every time you get a pay raise, split it. So let's say that work says we're going to give you a 4% pay raise. Increase your 401k contribution by 2%. And take 2%. So you're still seeing your paycheck that you're bringing home go up a little bit, but that's found money. That's money that you weren't used to having anyway. And now over time, you're building the amount that you're putting into the 401k. It's like you didn't even realize that it was happening.
Yep.
And so to your point, the sooner you can build that base and get that started, the far better off you're going to be. But don't feel like all is lost if I didn't, because there are probably some ways that you can start increasing what you're saving without even really realizing that you're doing it.
And similar to your point about, okay, now you're 65, maybe you are going to wait till you're 70 to retire, but it looks a little different. It's the same thing with, okay, you have a strategy in place that it's maybe the opposite of when you were 20, but now you have, okay, now I'm able to make these other decisions. It's not a black and white. Like there are
absolutely. Well, and even to that, we have a lot of people that make the mistake that when they start getting close to retirement, they start getting very conservative in their portfolio, too conservative in their portfolio. And what happens there is, it's kind of common logic that you would say, well, I get closer to needing the money, I should get more conservative. But when you think about what life expectancy is today, that is way different than what it was even 10 years ago. And so when I'm 65, it is very realistic that I'm going to see 90. Mm-hmm. So when you think about your portfolio, many times people get way too conservative. And then when you start projecting forward and say, do I have enough money? You don't, because you got too conservative. But when you think about this isn't a 5-year time horizon, this is a 25-year time horizon. That gives me the ability to manage my money differently in order to have it last longer. And the thing that's crazy with that is, the one part that helps me to put that into perspective. When I retire, I am not going to ask for all of my money in a check out of the market that day. I'm going to take a little bit over time. Mm-hmm. And so I truly do have a 25-year time horizon with those investments, which really allows me to manage it much differently than if I didn't. So.
Okay, great. Anything else I should be asking you about retirement, or did we just cover everything we need? Everything we need to know.
Everything we ever needed to know has been covered with retirement. There's nothing
Everybody's
else.
Set.
Yep, that's right.
Nothing else.
Yeah, and really I think the key takeaways are that the sooner that you can get started, the better. I think the balance between should I put money into a Roth IRA or my Roth contribution or my traditional contribution, that's a decision you have to make. How should I allocate my portfolio? Those types of things. And I don't know how other advisors are, but I know here at Prairie View, if somebody has questions about that, we'll sit down with you once a year when it's time to re-up all of your benefits, whatever, and help you make some of those decisions. And so it doesn't have to be overwhelming.
And to not just put all your money into retirement, like
Exactly.
start creating your legacy now. I know our mom always says, like, I don't want to just leave all my money to my kids. I want to spend it with them.
And we're like, no, Mom, it's okay.
Yeah,
really.
we're like, no,
it's okay.
We just prefer to leave.
Yeah.
No, but she does talk about that a lot, and it makes complete sense.
Complete sense.
She wants to take the grandkids on trips, or, wants to experience things with the grandkids, not just she's gone and now they get some money. So
No, absolutely.
It's figuring out the balance.
It is. And so in that balance and that tightrope, or that tension that you feel with that sometimes can be helpful if you do have a sounding board. And so don't feel like you have to go it alone. There are plenty of people that can talk to you. Like I said, I don't know if all advisors do it, but I know here at Prairie View, we're more than happy to do that.
Or find a good TikToker.
That's right.
Great. Well, if you found any of this valuable, please like and subscribe to our Facebook and our YouTube channel. And we hope to help you to live your legacy with confidence. See you soon.
You will.